We're talking about access to clinical trials where people need to ask questions and they gain information as you did. Well, one of the access problems that's magnified for clinical trials are some of the health disparities, underrepresented minorities, people with lower incomes, more difficult for them to get back and forth to the treatment center very often. And we can't allow that to happen. We have to make this clinical trials enterprise available to everybody with cancer who might benefit from participating in a trial. And that's going to take a lot of work.
The comments of Dr. Bill Nelson. He is the director of the Comprehensive Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. And joining us on the phone is Julie Fleshman, the president and CEO of the Pancreatic Cancer Network here in Washington for a week of advocacy. Let me begin with clinical trials and how that impacts the research with the cause that is near and dear to you, pancreatic cancer.
So one of the issues with pancreatic cancer, and one of the reasons that we are one of the ways that we will be able to make progress much faster, is if we can enroll more patients in clinical trials. The clinical and trial enrollment rate for pancreatic cancer is just 4%. And the only way to find new treatment options for diseases like pancreatic cancer are, to run new drugs through clinical trials and get them approved by the FDA. So certainly providing patients and families with information and resources about clinical trials and helping to match patients up with trials that may be best for them is one of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network's goals.
It is the third leading cause of cancer. So why is it so hard to detect? What is it, and why is it so deadly?
So your pancreas is located deep in your abdominal cavity, behind your stomach, in front of your spine. So it's like the small, dark organ in the middle of your body. There is no early detection method for pancreatic cancer. So unfortunately, usually by the time it's diagnosed, it's late stage and it's already metastasized or spread to other organs. And then on top of that, we don't have very good treatment options for the disease. So we really need an early detection method as well as better treatment options so that patients, have a better life expectancy.
How do you get there? What will it take?
So it's going to take more research funding, both, public and private dollars invested in pancreatic cancer research, looking at early detection tests, looking at better treatment options, getting more patients on clinical trials, all things that the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network is working to do.
Is this the same cancer that Steve Jobs died from?
It is. Steve Jobs had a rarer form of pancreatic cancer called islet cell pancreatic cancer that is a slower growing version of what is the more common form of pancreatic cancer, adenocarcinoma.
Is pancreatic cancer a death sentence? Are there long-term treatments available or in the pipeline?
The 5-year survival rate for pancreatic cancer is 9%, so only 9% of patients will live beyond 5 years. About 74% of patients will die within the first 12 months of diagnosis, so it is certainly a very difficult and challenging cancer. But our message to patients and families that are dealing with the disease right now is there are options, there are clinical trials, and we need to get patients onto those clinical trials, and we need to fund more research so that we can improve patient outcomes.
We're talking with Julie Fleshman. She is the president and CEO of the Pancreatic Cancer Network. President Obama and now President Trump supporting what they call the Cancer Moonshot Project. Will that achieve your goals?
So the funding for the Cancer Moonshot is extremely important. It's supplemental funding on top of what the NIH and the NCI is doing for cancer research, but it's certainly not in replace of. So we're really here in Washington, D.C. today with over 650 advocates talking about funding for the NIH and the NCI specifically to ensure that biomedical research funding remains a national priority. Specifically, cancer research funding remains a national priority, and then, of course, efforts for diseases like pancreatic cancer that need it so desperately.
And finally, this is a personal issue for you, correct?
This is a personal issue, yes. My father died from pancreatic cancer back in 1999. He was only 52 years old and only lived 4 months after his diagnosis. And, that's unacceptable. And so that's why I got involved with the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network and why so many other people around the country are joining our fight. This is urgent. The incidence is increasing. Pancreatic cancer is expected to become the second leading cause of cancer death in the United States by 2020, and we've got to do something to change that.
The website is pancan.org. Julie Fleshman, President and CEO of the Pancreatic Cancer Network, joining us here in Washington. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.